The Bellamy Mansion still stands tall in Wilmington, North Carolina, an exquisite, antebellum structure that withstood war, fire, and time itself. Locals know it not just for its architecture, but for the whisperings of what happened after the war, when the Bellamy family returned to reclaim their home. And those who have worked or visited the mansion after dark, especially the caretakers, often speak in hushed voices of a particular spirit that still lingers. They call her the Last Light. This story begins in 1871. The war had ended 6 years prior, and the South was broken in spirit and blood. The Bellamy family, wealthy, wounded, and silenced by the New World, returned to their beloved home. But it wasn't the same. Some rooms felt colder than others. Footsteps echoed even when no one walked the halls. And Mary Bellamy, the eldest daughter, had grown pale and distant since coming back. Mary was 17. Bright, sharp, but always quiet. She had developed a peculiar ritual upon moving back in. Every night, she would walk through the halls of the mansion with a small brass oil lamp, checking each room, lighting them briefly, then extinguishing them one by one. Her mother once asked why. "So no one is left in the dark," Mary whispered. Her father dismissed it as grief. During the war, 3 of Mary's brothers had died. One of them, Caleb, was only 15 and had run away to join the Confederate lines. He had never come home, not even in a box. Mary swore she still felt him in the house. One night in October, the Bellamys hosted a gathering, a modest one. They were still rich, but humbled. The house was dimly lit, the wine bitter. That night, Mary excused herself early. A few guests saw her disappear up the staircase, oil lamp in hand. The next morning, she was gone. Her lamp was found in the attic, still faintly warm, but the attic window was wide open. No sign of Mary. No note. No body. The search lasted for weeks. Dogs scoured the marshes. Boats combed the river. But she was never found. Locals began whispering that her spirit had joined her brothers. Or worse, something had taken her. The Bellamy family left the house the following spring. Present day. Rachel Monroe never believed in ghosts. She was 27, a history grad, and had just landed a job as the assistant events coordinator for the Bellamy Mansion Museum. She loved old buildings, long hallways, and the creak of wood. But not ghosts. Never ghosts. Her job was mostly logistical: weddings, historical tours, school field trips. But after hours, she was sometimes left to close up alone. It was on her 3rd week that she noticed something odd. Every evening, no matter how many lights she turned off, one small brass lamp would remain glowing in the upstairs hallway, by the attic stairwell. At first, she assumed it was a prank. The museum had no electricity in that lamp. It was antique, just for display. And yet, it glowed softly, a pale amber flicker. She told her manager, an older woman named Gwen, who simply sighed. "She's still doing her rounds," Gwen said quietly. "Who?" Rachel asked. Gwen hesitated, then told her the story of Mary Bellamy. Rachel laughed it off at first, but the details stuck in her mind: the lamp, the attic, the sudden disappearance. She looked into old records, historical newspaper clippings. Everything matched. Mary's photo even hung in one of the side parlors. She had haunting eyes. Eyes that followed. 3 weeks later. It was a stormy Friday. Rachel had stayed late finishing prep for a weekend exhibit. The mansion creaked as the wind slammed against the shutters. Around 10:30 p.m., she did her final walkthrough, checking each room, just like Mary had once done. When she got to the 2nd floor, the lights began to flicker. She paused. The brass lamp at the end of the hallway lit itself. No matches, no flame, just a sudden soft glow. Rachel froze. A sound echoed from above, footsteps. Heavy, deliberate, pacing across the attic. "Nope," she whispered and turned to leave. But the hallway behind her was darker than it should have been. Almost unnaturally dark, as though the shadows had thickened. Then she heard it, a soft female voice. Whispering. "So no one is left in the dark." Rachel spun around. There, standing near the attic stairs, was a figure, dressed in a faded white gown, holding the brass lamp. Her face half-shadowed, half-lit. Eyes locked with Rachel's. Pale lips moving. "You shouldn't leave them in the dark." Rachel backed away, her breath sharp and panicked. But the figure didn't follow. Instead, She slowly turned and ascended the steps into the attic, lamp flickering as she disappeared. And then, all the lights in the mansion went out. The aftermath. Rachel left the museum that night shaking, refusing to speak of it. But she couldn't stay away. Over the following days, she started asking more questions, talking to former caretakers, cleaning staff, even the occasional brave tourist who swore they'd seen something. One story stood out. A former maintenance worker claimed that when he once stayed late repairing the second-floor plumbing, he had fallen asleep on the job. When he woke, the attic door was open, and the brass lamp was beside him lit. It wasn't possible, he said. He didn't believe in ghosts, but something in that house watches you. Rachel eventually went back. Not because she wasn't scared, but because she had to know. 1 month later, she made a decision. She would stay overnight in the mansion. One night. Just her, a flashlight, and a recorder. The final visit. Midnight. The house was silent. Rachel sat on the second-floor landing, near the attic stairs, staring at the cold brass lamp. She turned on the recorder. "I want to understand you," she said to the air. "If you're here, Mary, or whoever you are, talk to me." Minutes passed. Then, creak. The attic door opened by itself. No wind. No draft. Just the long moan of wood and time. Rachel stood, heart pounding. Slowly, the brass lamp lit itself. This time, she didn't run. She climbed the stairs. Each step groaned beneath her, but the air remained still, eerily still. In the attic, dust floated like ash. In the far corner, something moved, a shape, cloaked in shadow. And a whisper. They forgot him. Left him alone. I couldn't let that happen again. Rachel stepped closer. Who? My brother. He's still here. He knocks. But they don't listen. Then, knock knock knock. 3 sharp raps on the wall. The cold in the attic deepened. Her breath fogged. "Help him," the voice said. "Let them see him." Rachel turned to the wall where the knocking came from. Behind the wood panels. Was that movement? She leaned closer. Suddenly, the lamp extinguished. Darkness swallowed everything. A scream rang out, Rachel's. And then, silence. Today, Rachel survived. She never returned to the attic. But she stayed at the museum for another year. During that time, one of the museum's historians took her story seriously. They eventually removed a section of the attic wall. Behind it, they found a small hidden room. And in it, a collection of old, decaying letters from Mary Bellamy, written from a Confederate hospital. Letters no one had ever read. Letters sent home, never received. He hadn't died on the battlefield. He had tried to come home. The last letter read, "Mary, I will come through Wilmington in October. Meet me at the attic window. I will carry a lantern." Mary had waited. She had carried a lantern. But he had never made it. And so she waits still, lighting the house, walking the halls, making sure no one is left alone. Or forgotten. The lamp still glows sometimes. Just before closing. And sometimes, if you're quiet, you might hear footsteps overhead. Or a soft voice, whispering. So no one is left in the dark.